appreciate this opportunity to address you guys. It's definitely a blessing. I want to make sure I set my timing, so I don't go too long. When I was asked to speak, my wife asked me to speak from a parent's point of view. I said, wow, from a parent's point of view, you have a lot of point of views. She wanted me to talk from a parent's point of view. So I couldn't talk of anything more diligent or anything better than my children. So I'm going to tell you a couple stories. One day I was taking Darnell and Trinity to the movies. We were going to actually see Brother Barry. Darnell was about 5 and Trinity was about 3. And so as we were getting out of the car, I had the tickets already. And the tickets fell because they started going in the wind. So here I am trying to get the tickets, and when I look up, Trinity had darted off, going to the movies. So everybody knows how eager Trinity is. So she's running off trying to get to the movies. By the time I look up, I see a perfect trajectory. I see her car coming down the lane, and I see her going down the aisle. There's nothing I can do. I cannot get to her in time. My heart is pounding, my heart is beating, probably mainly because I knew my wife was going to kill me. My life was flashing before my eyes. But in that moment, I saw her. I knew I had to do something. And with my loudest and most diligent voice, my loudest voice I ever had, I said, Trinity! And as I began to say Trinity, it's like it resounded through the whole parking lot. And it's like it grabbed her and stopped her right in her tracks. I said, phew, I was able to dart that one. A parent's point of view, we're always looking at you. We're always seeing you. We know that there's some things that might hurt you, some things that might harm you. It might seem like we're getting on your nerves, or it might seem like we're trying to get in your business, but we can see things that you can't see. We can see trajectories that you can't see. We can see problems and issues coming that you cannot see. So when we call your name and we call your voice, I hearken you to listen. I want to tell another story. My son Judah. When my wife was about 7 months pregnant, we went to the doctor. We went into the doctor, and they couldn't find his heartbeat. They looked for it. The doctor had to turn all kinds of different ways. Couldn't find his heartbeat. The doctor was concerned, so she ordered an emergency, ultrasound. She ordered an emergency ultrasound, and when she ordered it, we had to go and set up the time. So we went back and talked to the nurses. As we were talking to the nurses, they set up the time, and then so, as customary, we were setting up our next appointment. The nurses were looking at us like, why are you setting up your next appointment? My wife and I were diligent about, we want to set up our next appointment. But they were looking at us as if our son was already gone, as if our son was already dead. My wife and I never even talked about it. We never even spoke a word about it when we got out. So we walked out of the doctor's office from the waiting area, and I saw something I never saw before in my life. And I have it to this day, I've never seen it. I saw the doctor come from out of the office, walk through the lobby waiting area. Wow, okay, something's wrong with the mic. I come through the lobby waiting area, grabbed my wife and she hugged us and said, I'm praying for you. This is someone with all kinds of education. They got at least 7 years of education. She had delivered hundreds of babies, and she had tons of experience. And she's hugging us, telling us that I'm praying for you. When we left, my wife and I never talked a word about it. It's like we were John the Baptist's dad, and I don't know if Jesus just kept us from talking about it or what, but we never talked about the fact that he couldn't find his heartbeat. We went to the ultrasound, they found his heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. That was victory for us. But what I haven't told you is this. About 2 weeks before that, my wife and I were getting ready to go to bed, and I was walking through the living room. The wife was already upstairs, and I was closing up. And as I was going through the living room, it's like I hit a brick wall, and I dropped to my knees. I dropped to my knees because I began to pray. And I had an unction in my heart to pray. And I wasn't just praying, I had an unction to pray for his heart. And I was like, why am I praying for his heart? Anytime I tried to go somewhere else, Lord, have a good day tomorrow. Lord, it always came back to pray for his heart. And I prayed for his heart, and I found myself laying on the floor. When I woke up the next morning, I was dead on the floor. I was like, what happened? 2 weeks later, he had an issue with his heart. I want to let you know this. Parents are praying for you. We're making sacrifices for you that you don't even know about. We've been praying for you before you even got here. Every day that you go to school, every time that you're dealing with anything, we're there. We're praying for you. We're not only praying for you, we're making sacrifices and making provisions for you. Judah never knew about what happened. He was just being born. But we have to be obedient to the voice of the Lord. We have to be obedient to God. And that's what so if I'm talking from a parent's point of view, we are making sacrifices that nobody else knows about. That's the kind of God that we serve. One more story. I would be remiss if I didn't tell a story about Darnell. This is Darnell. And last year was his first year at aviation. And he decided he wanted to run cross country. Cross country is like no other sport. I tell you, even when you go to the meets, you have to run from one place to the other to try to catch and see where they're coming from. Darnell had started running cross country, and we couldn't make the first three or four track meets that he had, or cross country meets that we had. And so my wife and I, we asked him, well, how did it go? How did it do? How did it pan out for you? He said, I finished dead last, Dad. He said, I was last. Out of everybody in all the schools, I was last. And that was for like 3 or 4 races. But it was interesting, when I would go pick him up from practice, his coach would tell him, man, Darnell, he's like, man, you ought to be proud of Darnell. He is really doing well. I'm like, he keeps telling me he's finishing last. He said they're making fun of him. Sometimes they say, hey, well, go speedster, and he's the last one in the last line. They're making fun of him, but the coaches keep telling me he's doing well. He's doing well. We came to a meeting that my wife and I were able to go to. We went to this meet, and there we were, trying to get in position, and we're screaming his name. Go Darnell, go Darnell, go Aviators, go Darnell, go Aviators. And I'm looking for him at the end. I'm like, well, isn't this the end? That's what he always says at the end. But this time he wasn't at the end. Like, I'm not understanding. Maybe I just don't understand cross country. So he ran and he did his thing. And the last mile, they say sprint. There was a little hill. He came down that hill. I never seen him run that fast in my whole life. He came like a bolt of lightning, just zooming to the finish line. I was like, my goodness. It was so impressive that there was a track coach that was there and said, we have to get him on the track team. He's lightning fast. So he finished, and he didn't finish dead last. He actually shaved 5 minutes off of his time. Like, wow, 5 minutes? And so we were talking to him, he said, Dad, in all the other races, people would say, go Aviators, go Darnell, or you can do it. He said, but it was something different. When you were saying, go Darnell, go Aviators, go Darnell, he said, wait a minute, that's my dad calling my voice. He said, that's my dad calling my voice. And I think it did something on the inside of him where he shaved 5 minutes off of his time. I want to tell you today that we are your greatest cheering section. We want you to do better than you ever thought you could do. We want you to do things and do exploits that we never did, that we never saw, that we never even dreamed we could do. And that's what we're doing it. We're there cheering for you because we want you to succeed. You know, why am I telling you all these stories? These are good stories, right? I got one more story to tell you. I used to work for Daisy in downtown, and I worked for this company, and I did night audit. I came in one night working, and a guy came in and robbed the place. He pulled a gun out and put it right in my face, and he told me that he was going to rob the place and give him the money. A peace came over me like I never experienced before. It's almost like I could say, you're not going to get killed and you're not going to get hurt. Like what? It was such a strong peace that I said, okay. And the guy looked at me and said, be quiet, just give me the money. I'm like, okay, I'll be quiet. He robbed the place, he left, and everything was fine. I didn't get killed, I didn't get hurt. He got the money, they ended up catching him and they arrested him. Here's the story that I wouldn't tell you. When I told my dad about it, he was furious. Why was he furious? Because he would have rather been the one standing in front of the gun than to have me standing in front of the gun. He said, I'm his child, and he loves me and cares for me. And we as parents, if it ever came down to your lives or we would be the ones that would be rather the gun be pointed at our face than it be pointed at yours. We would much rather be us than it be you. Why am I telling you this? We sent you here to get a Christ-centered education. Why? Because there's going to come a day when that trajectory of that car and you meeting, we're not going to be able to be there to stop it. And you're going to have to pull on scripture. You're going to have to say, yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil. You're going to have to do that. It's going to be like Judah when his heart stops beating. And it's going to get to the place where he's going to need to be healed. You're going to be at work or you're going to be dealing with situations that you don't understand. And we're not going to be there to pray for you the way you need. But you can always count on God. He'll always be there for you. He'll never leave you and he'll never forsake you. That's why we're training you up for Christ-centered education. Because we know there's going to come a day where we're going to have to release you to our Father in heaven. And he's going to be the one that's going to care for you because we're not going to be there to make those tough decisions. The situation with Darnell, when he was running and we cheered for him, he did 5 minutes better because we were cheering for him. But there's going to come a day when there's nobody cheering for you. When everything is coming down on you. When the situation seems so hard that you're not going to know how to get out of it. And you're going to have to do like David. You're going to have to encourage yourself in the Lord. That's why we give you the Christ-centered education. That's why I'm thankful to the board. I'm thankful for the teachers. I'm thankful for all the parents and all the students that are here because we have come together as a family and we have raised you up in the way that you should go. We've trained you in the way that you should go. So that when you're in life, we don't have to worry about you. Why? Because we know that the Father is taking care of you. If you want me to get it to you from a parent's point of view, that's what I need. That's my point of view. Christ-centered education. Jesus Christ and him crucified. Believing that God will bring you through. That's the kind of God that we serve.